Woo!
Du gjør det 2 ganger.
Welcome to another unauthorized and fuel treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Raae. I'm your host, Olavia, and today we're joined by the great and powerful Ward Peeters of Gatsby!
Yay!
And it's your third time.
Yep. Third time. You know, you now have the prize for most attending guest, or what would you call it? We just told Lillian she should make him a pirate prize for that, and she's asked, why does he want pirate things? So we need to have another talk with our daughter about the brand of this show.
Maybe a goat instead of a bird, a goat on my shoulder.
Ooh, that would be cool. So I'm gonna make us all big again. And how are the goats?
They're doing
yeah.
They are doing well. Like now that it gets hotter and hotter in Belgium, at least we have a good week, I guess. They are like sunbathing and everything, so it's better than winter because we had to make sure that the water didn't get frozen because it's outside. So, but they're doing good. They're like now the smallest one is a year old, and the other two are, I guess, 2 years old because they sold them as the same age, but we don't really believe it. So I guess the other ones they're bigger, and so I guess they're 2 years now, and the other one is 1 year.
So it's Juliet, who is 1 year.
Yeah, correct.
And then Jose.
With a
it's
J.
A girl.
Yeah.
It's a girl. And then it's Joel.
Jewel,
like you have on your ring.
A jewel?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's like we say Jules, but it's Jewel. Yeah. Comes close.
And he's like the boss. He's like the boss.
He's the
too.
male. He's the male, so he's the boss.
So of course he's the boss.
No, but I mean in animal
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I wish I was the boss here, but
yeah. but he does he like he's not like bossy or with
only when it comes to food. Then he wants to be the first one to eat, but that's why we have like three places where we give them food, so every goat has its place.
Okay. Does he go over and eat the others' food?
No, because we put him outside, so he cannot tempt the other goats.
Yeah. I think this sounds familiar because I work at the city farm every now and then close by us, and there too we didn't like lock them out, but there too I was like instructed to put food in like the 3 different corners of the place that they were in, so that they would like have their own little areas to eat on, and like the one guy would always kind of like get the first place you put their stuff in, and then they kind of had an order, so we put it in the first spot. The first guy, was always the same guy. I think it was Romeo, who always got like that first spot.
Romeo.
and then the other ones, I don't remember what they are, but they got so old that now I don't think they have goats. Like they actually died of natural, or maybe almost. They almost lived as long as it is absolutely possible for a goat, because they were there for petting goats.
Juliet. It's Juliet, like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Should have a Romeo next time.
Yeah, but we started everyone with a J, so it's like Juliet, Jose, Jules.
I get it. And the horse, is that also in the J?
No, we didn't name him, so
no.
Oh,
Senzo with a C.
But I've met many horses who were like formerly known as, where they bought some kind of racehorse or something that's like, and they have these like weird names, like 5 names: Royal, King, something, something.
Yeah.
And then, but then it's like, oh, but he's known as like Blackie. You're like, okay.
Because it's
It's
too
like,
difficult to spell out
yeah.
every time.
Yeah, because I think that the again at the city farm, like he's called in Norwegian Svarten, which is kind of like Blackie. He's a big black Norwegian horse, and I think his name is like the Northern Prince or something, and something more. It's like his real name. But I guess I felt a little fancy for the city farm. But yeah,
it's cool when you go to like tournaments and stuff. Then if you say Black Prince,
it's like, yeah, it's gonna win this thing, And you also said that you will soon be moving closer, because last time you were on, or the first time you were on, I think the first time you were on, we actually got to meet the goats. So anyone who hasn't seen the goats when they were tiny and cute can go back and watch that. We'll probably pop some links in the description when I have time. And then you told us you're building a house like on the lot where the animals are, but you're not living there now, but you're getting close.
Yep. End of May, we will be moving. If it's done or not to be decided. Like normally it should be done, but we're waiting for the kitchen, and that's coming half of May. But now it's like the whole COVID and stuff. You never know if they.
Who needs a kitchen? It's like.
If it takes a week longer, we are fine with that. If it takes maybe a month longer, then we might need to relook the plans. But I don't think it's going to be a month. Like normally, it should be on time. So
yeah, I heard everyone I know who's done any large building, it's like it's always late. So you kind of just have to like brute force it a little bit, just move in and get it done.
Yeah. We
but
had to
I
wait
just saw
like 6 months for a window, so that was the longest period we had to wait for. But after that, it kind of went smoothly, or is going smoothly. So, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. So, little tip here from Scandinavia: IKEA just got these like portable oven tops that you can just like in the induction ones. They're just tiny ones, and you can just a regular electrical socket, and you can have them anywhere, and I've seen those are pretty good for those kinds of situations when you're waiting for. I like how we're like talking and we can't even see Ola. We can see your ear, Ola. Can you do you want to get in frame? And we can't hear you. Where he mutes himself because Lillian is very noisy at some points, but well, we'll see. We'll just keep on chatting. Today, I need Ola's little Tinkerbell tasks. Where's your Tinkerbell task and your audio, Ola? I can unmute you. Oh, I cannot.
You didn't unmute me. Sorry, I tried to put the goats in the description here, but StreamYard said no, you can't do that.
Oh no, we forgot to stream to Twitter today. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh,
somebody tweet that we are live. Somebody, Inessa, please tweet that we are live. Okay.
But I have a time code for the goats.
Ooh.
And I tried to post it now in the description, but I couldn't.
Okay.
But here it is.
The what? The what? We are adding ImageCDN support. And why? Why would we want to do that? What? I mean,
it's fine. Basically, to speed up your build process, and because then we don't do image processing at build time anymore, but only when the image gets requested. And then the other benefit is because it's still hosted on the same domain, you don't pay like the extra domain cost. So if you go to a website and you have to like example.com and an image lives on cdn.example.com, it on slow devices it can take up to 300 milliseconds to just connect to the domain. So that's a win as well. And so there are two ways you could do it now. So you could just do local image processing with Gatsby, and that would give you the same benefits, but then build time rise up. But then the other option was if you use Contentful or Sanity or any like headless CMS, you could use their CDN, so you didn't pay the build time cost, but then you would pay the runtime cost. So now it's basically everything is solved for you.
Yeah. And I also thought about another thing. I think it was the other day we were talking about it, that for instance, what we're doing today, where we're going to do this to our, I forgot to say that, we're going to do this to our Gatsby source YouTube OEmbed plugin. So people who's been around for a while on the stream, we work on that on and off. It's a great little kind of proof of concept source plugin. And a thing that I thought about there is that you also kind of get a little bit of the privacy aspect, because if we were to that we at least get that when we took the images, the thumbnails, and instead of pointing towards the YouTube servers, we took them in and sourced them in and had them locally and got, you know, all of that stuff. But that will slow down when you have, you know, 100 or something YouTube videos. But now we can still kind of host them, as you said, on our own domain, instead of calling out to the YouTube servers. And if I know Google right, like they use that data as well, even if they don't have any tracking scripts on their site. I am guessing that they track that as well, because that's just what they do, right?
Track everything you can.
Yes. And I also know that there's a Norwegian company that does also some privacy stuff. And one of the reasons they wanted to source all their images into the Gatsby build was because of privacy, because they wanted it all on the same server that they kind of have more control over, instead of having it on the different CMSs. So yeah, a little bit of a privacy thing there as well, since we're working on POW as well.
Because it also removes like EXIF data. So sometimes you forget to remove, like, if you take a photo with your camera, like has like geolocation and everything inside, and sometimes you forget to like remove it. Like Gatsby Transformer Sharp does it by default. You can enable it to not do it, but then ImageCDN will do the same.
Yeah.
So that's
also good. Yeah. So if you have a little blog and you're like, oh, this is my house, and you didn't want anyone to know where it was or where it is, then that is also good that it takes that information out of the image. Okay, cool. So we are gonna try then to do this. And I don't know if you've done it so many times that you can just like tell me the code, or if we should head on over to the docs or not.
Let's go to the docs. I quite know how it works, but the details are easily forgotten.
Yes, that's why we have Google, right? That I just kind of dunked, but that is why we have them. Okay, share screen.
And like docs and everything will be like improved as well as we go, because it's still technically beta. So like
it was shipped with 4.10, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or
so it's not going to break anything. So in open source, it's basically good to go. But in cloud, we're still looking into how can we improve it, because not all the options that you can do locally now, so like grayscale, those are not all implemented yet. So we're adding those, and then when everything is on par with Sharp, like Transformer Sharp, then we're gonna make it not beta anymore. But
yeah, I'm just gonna retweet Inessa so that we everyone knows we're live. Okay, so this is the docs.
Yes.
And I had a look at them earlier today, and it's probably good, that you're working through this a little bit, because I kind of know where this code is supposed to go, but there's no kind of indication here on where.
Okay.
Well, it says it should here create schema customization node API additions, but if you're kind of new, it would be nice that it just said, little, this is Gatsby node code. But yeah, so what it says here is that we need to create a new node type.
Yeah, or you can use an existing one. So that's the trick. So this doc is mostly made for like source plugin authors, like what we're doing here with YouTube. So what a lot of CMSs already had like an asset type, which could be an image, a file. So you could reuse it. But if you didn't have an asset type yet, then you can create one, because it needs to be a GraphQL type. Whatever it is doesn't really matter, but it needs to be a type.
Because what we did is that we used create remote file node. And I am then wondering if we're kind of done, if then we just get the support out of the box, or if we...
No, create remote file node is the old way, the problem with create remote file node is that it eagerly downloads everything. So if you have 1,000 images or 1,000 files and you're using only one, You're kind of like we have to download all the thousands, and with like ImageCDN, the goal of it was to remove that step, because in V2 and V3 you were able to do it in a resolver, like download the file and everything. But like now because we have an actual database under the hood in Gatsby, we cannot do it anymore. So we removed and we always said, please don't do it. Like, don't create nodes inside resolvers. You can do whatever you want there, but just don't create nodes.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I've been good, and I've done it on create node and not in the resolver,
which is great.
It was kind of funny though, because this was the way that I thought you were supposed to do it, and then I looked at some documentation, and it was like, oh, you should do it in the resolver, and I was like, okay, I'll test that out. And then I found the documentation that was like, no, you shouldn't do it. The first way you did it was right. So I've been all the way around with this code, but that's how you learn, right? So we don't want to use this then anymore. We want to create our own type, and then we'll just follow the documentation. So I guess it's in here in create schema customization.
Yeah, you can use a YouTube type if you want to have it in sites. So if you want to do it on YouTube, you could say, like, let's say you query YouTube, then you get like Gatsby image resolver on that type. If you do it on a different one, then you have to do like linking, and then you basically. So it depends on what you want to do.
That's what we're doing already. So I think we're going to try that for this one. But what you're saying now, because the reason why, we're not creating this remote file when we are sourcing our nodes is because, like you said, then it's going to go and fetch all of them. But if nothing has changed, we don't want that to happen. So by doing it on create node, at least we're just going and fetching these files when something has changed with the YouTube node, instead of doing it while we're sourcing, because then if we did it here in the create node, and using create remote file node, we would have been downloading the images every time we wanted to source.
You would still do it now, right? Because every time a node gets created, this hook gets created.
Yes. Yeah, but if you run Gatsby develop and then you run Gatsby develop again, it won't run on create node, because all the nodes that YouTube nodes we are creating hasn't changed its content digest.
Yeah, but then create remote file node will do nothing either, because will create the same node that it's smart enough. There is a little bit more work necessary, because create remote file node will do like fetch to the network, see if the image changes. So you're right on that.
Okay, so let's do it on create node like we had. So then we want to make another. Yeah, so we're following the documentation here. We want to create our own node type. And then I realized you can do an array inside of create types. So we'll still keep the one that we have. And then we'll pop this one in. And let's call that YouTube thumbnail then. Not YouTube. I can feel the spelling is going to mess me up on this one.
And then fields can be empty if you want to. It's only necessary when your asset has different things than ImageCDN needs.
Yeah, I thought let's just like add that little YouTube ID there in case we need to do some debugging. We can see what YouTube video this is supposed to be part of. Is this correct?
No, it needs to be a string, and then it needs to be string, and the exclamation is at the end.
Let me go and have a look at my little cheat sheet.
But you could also do it like a string type, because you don't have any custom resolvers. You don't need built object type. So you could just do where you have type YouTube. You could also just start a new line, type YouTube thumbnail.
Oh, well, we'll do it like this now, so I don't realize what I've done wrong. That would be correct. And then we want it to be both of a node and of a remote file.
Yeah.
So what I realized though, which I always forget, people who are watching, what are we actually working on? So before we do this, let's do a little bit of a git stash, and
you gonna show us? You gonna show it?
I thought maybe we should show what we are working on, because I'm always like, let's get into the code, but it's my code, right? So I know what we're doing, but everyone else might not know what we're doing. So we have a little bit of a plugin here that goes through and fetches all of the YouTube IDs that we have configured. It goes and uses the OEmbed endpoint, which is a public or is a protocol or something. I guess it's a protocol. Well, anyway, you call the OEmbed endpoint at YouTube and you get a lot of information back about these videos. We get that back from that endpoint, and then we create YouTube nodes and then also these remote files with the thumbnail. And then we have a fun little demo site that
You're
looks
building
like...
it. That's why you haven't shown it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is how it looks like. It's a very fancy site where we are just showing the thumbnails, and then if you click on a thumbnail, it will take you to the correct video.
Oh no, ad.
And then if we have a look at the GraphQL, this doesn't work, of course, because it doesn't exist. We can see the OEmbed information that we get back. I'm going to make this bigger. We get a lot of information about the video back, like the thumbnail URL and height and title and the URL to get there. So that's the information we are using to build this kind of index page. And you can do whatever you want, but this is just my demo index page. Okay, so back to the code then. And as you can see, even though we only have 4 pictures, you know, Gatsby plugin Sharp is working hard. I mean, I guess it's done. 4 out of 4. 100%.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah. Like we keep the progress bar there because if you change something,
it starts again.
Yeah.
Or
it adds things to it.
Yeah, we're not going to let everything run while we're doing all of this coding, but that's what we are doing. And then we want to change the images instead of building them locally and doing all the transformation locally. We want to use the new Gatsby ImageCDN. So git stash apply. There we go. So the first thing we're doing, creating a new node type, and it can have a little bit of a reference to our YouTube ID, and then it is of interface node and remote file. Okay, back to the docs. Let's see if we understand what's going on. Okay, here it says that we should polyfill to provide support back through Gatsby 2. I am not doing that.
So the reason why we added is because if you have a source plugin that's used widely, you never know what Gatsby version they're running on. And then
of course,
with the polyfill, and we made it so easy, or we think we made it easy.
Oh, so you think I should do it?
Yeah, because basically you just have to import it from plugin utils. Of course, you have to install it, but then just wrap it, wrap your schema, build object type with that. You can do.
How is this suddenly ESM while I am on? Well, I am on.
Because we work in TypeScript.
Oh, you work in TypeScript.
But what is polyfill?
It is like making sure that it works in older versions. So it does everything that Gatsby does by default, or the latest version Gatsby does for you. But the polyfill now makes sure that you are backwards compatible without like breaking the site.
So basically what it does, Ola, is that it adds a lot of code that we don't have to write ourselves.
To our plugin.
But it only adds it if it's on version 2. So it probably checks to see, are we on version 2? Why is this not working?
You have to do after your comma. You have to, so on line 117.
Oh, it's not everything. It's just the sorry, I put my parenthesis in the wrong place. There we go. And then we needed to give the schema and the actions. Yeah.
And it's not just version 2, like it's support. So it's basically we shipped ImageCDN in 4.10 or 9, but then 4.0 needs it too. So that's basically everything that's below 4.10 will need a polyfill to make it work. And what it basically does is just polyfills the remote file interface, because remote file interface in GraphQL has like all the resolvers and all the logic that you need to make ImageCDN work. And that's basically what the polyfill does.
Okay. So now we've done that. Let's keep on reading. Let's follow the docs, y'all. Okay. So implementing the remote file interface adds the correct fields to your new GraphQL type and adds the necessary resolvers to handle the type. Remote file holds the following properties: MIME type, file name, file size, width, height, public URL, resize, and Gatsby image. Okay, but how do I make them? I guess that's going to be here in source nodes. When creating nodes, you must add some fields to the node itself to match what the remote file interface expects. So let's copy all of that then. So that would be, instead of creating remote file node, I'm going to use this.
Exactly.
So it's an asset node. And the ID. Oh, so we need to create an ID now, I guess.
Or you can use the same as YouTube, but then like you can do children, but I'll not talk about that because it's more complex.
You're like, well, you could do it. No, don't do it.
No, it makes it more complex. It's just create a new node ID is fine.
YouTube thumbnail node ID, and then let's create node ID. And what am I doing up here? I am just adding a little bit of a string. So let's do thumbnail, because these kind of need to have to be in the unique.
Yep.
How is this deterministic? Will it always return the same node ID? It will. Oh, interesting. I can clean up some code then, because I wasn't sure. YouTube, and then that's the YouTube, blah, blah, YouTube. So let's add that there. Trying to be very explicit with my naming here. And what did we call it? We called it YouTube thumb. Never write thumbnail. I don't know how many times I've written thumb without the B, and then everything breaks, and you're like, why is it breaking? Okay, so then we need the URL for the file. So that's the same as we used here when we were creating a remote file name. And what's this, a placeholder URL?
You can skip this, but why we added this is when you do Gatsby image resolver, you can choose your placeholder like blurred, dominant color, or none. And the thing we still have to do in the Gatsby process is generate a thumbnail because it's part of the HTML. And what we want people to do is give us a smaller image file, because if you have to download a 5 megabyte file that we then shrink to a 20 pixel one, it's better to give us a 20 pixel or something smaller. So placeholder URL, if you have something that's smaller, you can just hard code that smaller one, or you can give us like with the width and height macros or whatever you want to call it, then we add the correct sizes and download the small one. So for example, for Contentful, for the placeholder, we download a 20 by 20 image.
So then you're kind of using their ImageCDN to get this placeholder URL.
Yeah.
Or placeholder image, I mean.
Yeah. And if you don't give it, we just use the big one, like the URL one.
And in the case, as we've seen, if you follow these streams, YouTube gives us the shittiest version of their thumbnail in the OEmbed endpoint. So I think it's going to be fine. It's like 480 by something. So it's not.
And even if it's 5 megabyte, we will handle it, but it's just slower. Like if you have to download 5 megabyte and it takes 5 seconds, your build is 5 seconds longer than it should be.
Okay, so let's go back and see. Maybe we could have a look in our content here. So we have the thumbnail URL. We can use the thumbnail height and width, I guess, for the height and width.
Yeah, because that needs to be the original or the same width and height as the URL. Because we use that to like make our calculations when you like resize and stuff.
But what if I didn't know this? Because
then you can't use ImageCDN. Or you have to use create remote file node still, or there is a package probe or something, or image probe that can like read a little bit of the image and give you the right metadata. So that would be a cheap version, but normally if you have to download the image, then there is no big benefit of ImageCDN. Yeah,
because then we're downloading all of the images, finding the width and height, and then throwing it away again, and it's like, okay. So we have the height width. So now we have the file content type. And I think in our case, we always know that it's going to be JPEG. So then I can just hard code that. Because there's no way to like get that from a URL. I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just
And
image.
it only matters if you want to do like a the ImageCDN has like AVIF WebP and then auto, and auto just means like whatever the source image was, we keep it. So if it's JPEG, it would be JPEG. If it's PNG, it would be PNG. But if you don't know, you can just also say image JPEG all the time, and then we will. And then if you use auto, you could also say like don't use auto, but use JPEG, and even if it's not a JPEG, we will convert it for you.
Yeah, because so after you've downloaded it, then you kind of know what it is, and then you can convert it. Okay.
Yep.
So I think that's all. But the one we are missing here now is the file name. And I don't like, what is that used for? Like, what do I have to think about when it comes to the file name? Because what I'm getting from YouTube is not very interesting, right? Because it's I'm getting the thumbnail URL, but I'm guessing I shouldn't use all of that as the file name.
No, so normally it's like the last thing, HQ default or JPEG.
Yeah, and all of them are HQ default JPEG.
But that's technically fine. It's just to make sure that we, if you download it, that we name it the correct file name. So normally, technically, I think we can take it from the URL, but just to be safe, we let people specify the file name, because if you have like I don't know how every CMS works, but if you have a CMS where they kind of confiscate the image name or something, and you don't really want to, then you could give you an URL and give us a different file name, and we'll do the right
so
thing.
Maybe we should just do the node YouTube and then JPEG. Just to like,
that's fine.
Plus JPEG.
And they don't have to be unique, right? Like you could have used the last piece of thumbnail URL and always do HQ default. That's fine.
And then we decided to have a YouTube ID field, so we can add that as well. So we can add any field we want to here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to think about remote file interface as an extension to what you're already doing.
Okay, so this should work. We just need to create the node now. Create node, and then we'll just add asset node. I see in all the documentation, you usually define it first and then you use it, but I could just put that object right in here. I don't know. I have a hard time coming up with these node names. name. Anyway, so we're creating the node. We no longer need this. Okay. And then we want to tell our YouTube node that it has a thumbnail. So thumbnail file ID, which is fine. And it's no longer the image file. It's the YouTube node ID we created.
So you could use create node field, but you could also use like schema customization, because I think you already had a link directive.
Yeah, so I have a link here, but I need to link it from somewhere. Like I need to put something on my YouTube
You have
node.
YouTube ID, right?
Oh, now I do. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So, okay, we're not going to try. Let's try that in the YOLO person.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I'm like, this will break. Okay, but what we at least have to do is that this is no longer it's not no longer linking to a file. It's linking to YouTube thumbnail.
Oh.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah. But your 116 is not really correct.
It's linking from field.
Oh yeah. It is. Yeah. Sorry, you are right. Yeah.
It worked before.
No, it's correct. Like I was thinking about something different. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, because I've seen a lot of
thumbnail field that has the properties.
Yeah. Because I've seen a lot of in the documentation, it's often just like at link, because if you'd called it the same, it will, you don't need this from property, but I like to have the from property, because then I can see where things go wrong, because then I can see the ID, and then if nothing is happening, I know what's going on. Okay, so let's try to run this then. Are we? Ooh, I got a new keyboard, so I'm messing.
You're going to build now?
I'm going to build.
Okay, I have a question then.
Kan jeg få en ny som du kan lage
Sure.
sånn der?
I have a question then.
Somebody quiet the princess.
Yes. Du må være stille, for nå skal jeg snakke. So, it's for Vart. Who? Because you meet the people at Gatsby, yeah? And who-
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
You meet them online at least.
Yeah. But who are one if you have to pick one dev at Gatsby that would fit on our pirate show, who would that be?
What do you mean with fit?
Well,
Who would have fun coming on?
yes,
Hmm.
yes. That yes, exactly. That's better wording.
You might want to look at like maybe Tyler Barnes or something. Someone
Yes.
from the integration squad. So they are working like on the
Yes.
faster incremental deploys, like faster deploys. They also working on ImageCDN. And then next
okay.
step would be making source plugins more easier to create. So we are going to create new APIs and new docs too. Maybe that's would be a good one to get on.
New APIs.
Easier APIs to do less things wrong. Like source nodes is now one API that does many things, like making sure you can do incremental builds and all of those things. But there's many mistakes being made. So
Yes.
we are making it better where if you do something wrong, Gatsby will tell you that you're doing something wrong, and so on and so on. So
Look
contact
at
Tyler
that.
Brown, and I can tell him to contact you as well.
I saw this one video. Is it already working?
It's already working. I mean, we are getting a ton of errors because when we are now moving on to ImageCDN, we obviously don't have any child image sharp on our nodes. But let's look in the graphical explorer first, like we like to do on this show. But if we have a look at the thumbnail now, we do have Gatsby image.
Yes.
And I guess if we just press play, it says no. So we don't have it.
Yeah, but you have to do like width and height as well. But none mostly means that it couldn't figure out that it's an image or that there is no data.
I think that there is no data.
What you could do is ID. If you query ID, then you should get something.
Okay.
I know what she doesn't really like graphical that much.
I love graphical. I just think
good.
we need to do a yarn clean because it's not calling our on create node anymore because we, the nodes, our YouTube nodes haven't changed.
But I have a follow-up question on Tyler Barnes. I saw this video with him and he was doing WordPress something with preview. And then he was there, I think he was in his living room and he was there. He had this big glass door and then the cat came outside. Have you seen the video?
No.
The cat came.
No, oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, first the cat was just like coming and it just like looked from the corner of the window in, but what is my human doing in there? And then he walked over there and he's like, he can't see me. What's this? And then he just stood like this, waiting. And then he, Tyler was explaining and doing stuff. And then the cat just jumped up on the window and tried to kind of, yeah. But the question is, so do you know the name of the cat?
No.
No.
It's a long story to get the name of the cat. Well, the cat needs to be on the show.
But is it his cat?
I don't know either. I didn't see the video. I didn't see the cat, so I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I guess it probably will be his cat.
But
look at this. We're getting an error.
Oh.
Let's see. The new node didn't pass validation. Internal content digest is required. But let's look at our docs. Somebody needs to create an issue because it's not part of the docs. So just yep. Great. So what should we put as our digest then? Do we want to create a new digest?
No, you can use the same as the YouTube embed.
Yeah. So content digest, and we'll just use the one from the node internal content digest. So our digest again, folks, is to let Gatsby know if the node has changed. So it will look at the content digest. What did you say last time, Ola? It's like a little label on the bag. So you have the YouTube thumbnail bag, and instead of having to go into the bag and like look at the image and see has it changed, it will just check the little label, and if the label has changed, it knows that something has happened inside the bag. Okay. Yes. Well, let's try again, and then you guys can talk again. And thank you, George, who said, try querying the ID. Yeah. And as you could see, we did that, and we got IDs, but we still didn't get any images. So let's try again.
So at least our linking works.
Might be.
Because if you didn't get IDs, then there wouldn't be links.
Okay. So, but we had the error but the node creation failed, but our linking worked.
So we get the ID, but not the actual data.
Yeah.
Isn't the ID part of the data? No. We make the ID.
Yeah, we make the ID, and then we create a node with that ID, and then we set that ID on the YouTube node.
Yeah, it could be that the resolver throws the error, so that the node got created, but the resolver throws.
Oh.
Okay. Let's see if it works now. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Booyah!
Yes!
So easy.
Are you happy? Are you happy? Marta, it was working on the stream.
You look like you were talking to somebody else. You were like, are you happy? Are you happy?
Well, it's hard for me to look like which way. Like it's Marta's there. Hello.
Yeah.
But it's great because that's basically the reason why we created like the polyfill and like just putting a interface on your GraphQL type, because beforehand we had utilities to make Gatsby plugin image work with like other CMSs, but it was so difficult for them to make it work, and that's why we like created this. And now it's basically like in version 5 where you don't need a polyfill anymore, just add remote file interface to it. And then of course the correct fields, but then it's all you need to do.
So now we need to change our query. So what I did was I removed the child image sharp, and then it's been called Gatsby image instead of Gatsby image data.
And the reason why we did it is because it's very difficult to make it compliant with all CMSs who already have Gatsby image data. So that's why we invented a new one.
But then, am I correct? Like these aren't the same anymore.
No.
So if we go back to so it seems like aspect ratio is straight on Gatsby image. Yeah, so it was straight on Gatsby image, but then we need fit. So fit and I guess crop focus, both of those are now straight on the Gatsby image.
And there's one other change we made is that you now have to tell us which layout to use, and we don't have a default width anymore either. And the reason why is because many people forgot to do width, and they got a bigger image than they were expecting because they were just like, I don't care. But the problem
that's me. I never put width in. I was like, I don't care. I'll take the big. But that's usually because my images are so small. So I'm like, I don't care. I want the biggest one.
But normally you know how large your thumbnail is going to be. So for example, your div is going to be 300 pixels. Why do you load a 700 pixel image? Like just tell us it's going to be 300, and then Gatsby will generate a 600 image for like a retina. But nothing bigger. And
some of us are really into fluid layout, so we have no idea what size it's gonna be. But we know the max usually. But
yeah. And if you don't know it like a background image, do full width then as a layout, and then tell us how large you want it to be, like maybe 2000 pixels or something, and then we can figure out the correct pieces.
Okay, so now I put 480 because I know that the images we're coming back from YouTube are 480, and then we keep the fit and the crop and the aspect ratio. And the reason that we are doing the fit and the crop and stuff like that is because for some weird reason, YouTube are giving us these images with like black border on top and bottom, which is probably because of some legacy stuff that they used to have a different aspect ratio, and that's what they're going to have on the thumbnails, even though it's only part of it. That's the image. So we calculated on some stream that the aspect ratio is 177777778.
And I think we fixed a bug with aspect ratio that is in the next channel, but might not be on the.
Oh, let's see. So I fixed it here, but then of course we need to fix it where we're using it as well. So it's Gatsby image. Let's do a little search for sharp. Yeah, no more sharp left.
And I'm not sure if like get image still works. Like we have a ticket for it to make get image work with Gatsby image, but I think you can just remove get image. So just do thumbnail.gatsby image.
And I can just put that straight into the Gatsby image component.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Because the get image, the utility it gives is that you don't have to do like child image sharp, the whole chain. But technically it's not necessary anymore, but we want to be backwards compatible too, where people don't have to remove it, but that's still a ticket in the backlog.
Okay. So let's see what we get. I don't know why I did Gatsby develop again, because now we were in the demo land and we don't have to do Gatsby develop all the time, but it's just a bad habit that takes time on stream. Okay. Let's see. Let's see, everyone. What do you think? What do you... Oh, boy.
I can ask one more question.
Yeah. If anyone... And also, if anybody in the chat has any questions for... Bart,
yes. So you are you on several teams at Gatsby?
I am on the architecture squad, which means we are like looking far ahead in the future to see what do we need to build. We're prototyping, and then we bring it to different squads. Like, hey, this is something we have explored. Seems to be something worth our while. Can you like do more research and get it into production or get it on your roadmap? And then the other piece is that as technical lead on the framework side or open source side, I do have to like be involved into basically everything that the framework people are doing, just to make sure that like more or less it goes through the bigger Gatsby plan, like make sure that the vision is there and those kind of things. So I'm on one squad, but I am part of, or I mean, many discussions with almost every squad. So,
so you're prototyping.
Yep.
But then who are you doing it with? Then?
Say it again.
Who you and who are you working with the prototype?
So our team is me, Abi Iyer, which is like a also principal engineer, and then Julian. I forgot his last name. And then the PM and EM are Joel Smith and then Dustin Shaw, which are like VP of engineering and director of product. So
yeah, I've seen Abi Iyer. I've seen him on a couple of videos. Julian, I don't.
Julian, I don't think he's been on videos.
No. Okay. So
this is a great place to start. We're so nice over here in the shark waters around the Gatsby Island. Okay, go ahead, Ola. Sorry.
But if it has built, it's
built. But there might be an aspect ratio bug since we are getting our black little stripes again. But you said that it might be fixed in next.
It's fixed on the next channel. So if you install Gatsby at next, the aspect ratio should be working. At least I merged the PR of Matt, I think 2 days ago, and we published it. So hopefully it is fixed.
I just have to say that I love when I clicked one of these videos and the ad is for Webflow, which is like the opposite of what we're doing. We're coding it all, folks. We're coding it all. But I have a question, or did you want to go first, Ola?
Come on.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of know if it was working or not, like where the images are coming from. Look at that. There's you in the dark with the goats.
Yeah.
And I see now that it's no longer in the static folder. It's in an _Gatsby folder when we're working locally. And I'm guessing this will then change if it goes up on the Gatsby cloud with with the CDN? And no, it's
going to be the same URL, but we do more magic in cloud.
You do magic. So how do I know when it's gone live that it's actually kind of working? Let's push this and see if we can.
There's some kind of weird link, isn't there?
So technically you won't see it in cloud if it's working or not. Like if you use a view source, you cannot see it technically. But when you go into the build logs, you should not see any image processing or like ImageCDN jobs being executed. We are looking into UI in cloud to show you like, hey, it is working, because now it's like quite technical or you need to know where to look.
Yes.
Okay.
But couldn't you just give me some kind of pop up, some kind of it's working, or if I can click a button, show me if it's working, click, and then it's like yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so the next question is then, what if I deploy this on somewhere where there is no Gatsby CDN?
Then it will still work, because then we do it at build time. So that's the whole thing the hardest thing about ImageCDN building it is like you have to make it work locally and on any host, and then on cloud do some magic. So that's why the URL. So if you look at the URL, it has like Gatsby _Gatsby/image and then /gibberish and then /default or JPEG or something, like the file name. And those gibberish, like we're changing it in the future that it's going to be query strings, but the gibberish itself is basically the remote URL base64 encoded, and then the next one is the args base64 encoding.
So that you can actually know where that URL original URL is.
Yep.
So if I push this up to Netlify now, it will work locally. You are doing stuff so that it's faster. And then when I push it up to Netlify, it will be like before.
It's going to be a little bit faster because we only download the assets you're actually using. So that's again
nice.
To the WordPress example or the CMS example where you have 1,000 images, you're only using 5. We will only download those 5, like anywhere.
And then you run it through Sharp and do all of that stuff on build.
The dog is coming! The dog is coming! Hello, dog!
Oh, there's a dog as well!
Lillian, kom! Det kommer en hund! Kom da! Kom! Se!
Oi, jeg kan ikke se den, mamma.
Ser du ikke hunden? Lag han stor da, Benedikte.
Okay, doggy time.
Oi, se på den da.
Yeah, that is Lillian's biggest want in life, is to get her own dog.
Yeah.
And she's not, so.
She asks, is it a boy or a girl?
A girl.
It's a girl. What's the name?
Phoebe.
Phoebe. Det en jente. Phoebe. Det en jente. Phoebe navnet.
It's not Norwegian, no.
She was like, what is that in Norwegian? Well, I was like, it's the name. It's like, people don't have... Names are on all languages. So this is my scores. Okay, we're still looking at the dog. Okay.
Yeah.
There is another dog that I'm dog sitting today, but he's larger. I cannot.
I can make you bigger because then we can see. Okay, I'm gonna make you a little bit bigger, like that. Yes. Then.
Se Lilian! Se på den da!
Han er 2 hunder. Jeg liker den første.
Den bare på besøk.
Ja, dessuten liker jeg den første best.
Ja.
Jeg liker den sorte best.
Lilian says she likes the black one better.
And why?
She liked the little one because it's cuter.
Lilian says you have Gatsby t-shirt.
Yeah, true.
And and then she said the same as is hanging behind Ula.
Yeah, I have it there on the wall.
Oh yeah, I see.
But he has
we put
gold plated the G.
Gold
plated the G.
Yeah.
I need to get a gold one.
Yeah.
Paul has a great question.
Yes, I will read
Hello,
it.
Paul. You
I
can
will
read
read
it,
it.
Ola, and
Do
I
you
will
put it-
find that documentation because I saw that as well, and we just skipped that documentation. So
I have a question for Vart. Do you need to add polyfill image service dev routes? I didn't really understand that bit.
Yeah, you have to when it's the same thing as the one above where we did it for the schema. We have to do it to be compatible with older versions of Gatsby. And what this basically does is that we don't process images um, during built-in develop. So in develop, everything is lazily. When you go to a page that have 0 images, we don't do anything image processing either. If you go to a page which has image processing, we also do only that one image or those images on the page. So it is lazily, and that's why we need it as well. So it adds the underscore Gatsby file and underscore Gatsby image URLs to the dev server.
yes. Okay, so if somebody uses my plugin and they
Yes.
are on 4.1
0,
instead of
yep.
4.10, then it will still load lazily even if they haven't upgraded their Gatsby
Yep.
version.
Yeah, and if you don't edit, they would
Ooh.
see blank images. Like the URLs will be generated, but then the image will not exist.
Okay, I like this. Okay, so let's add that then. Let's be complete.
Yeah, and that also
Let's be
speeds
complete.
that speeds up develop too, because we're not downloading images during the boot up time.
Yeah, I feel like that should be on top. And I can import that from the same
Source
place.
file. Yeah. Pull the folder.
And then
Sorry,
we don't need
Yep.
we don't need a remote file node anymore.
No.
No, and we know I don't need that. Let's not keep stuff around. Okay, and I pushed it up to GitHub to see if it wanted to build. It looks like it's building. And as you said, there is no way for me to see if this.
Maybe like if you do get inspector, and then look at the request, but I don't think we add metadata to it. So if you go to the network tab and then click on.
Let's do another load here. Well, we would get them anyway, wouldn't we? So.
Response doesn't give us much. Then the other thing you can see is like look at the build log and see if there's anything saying about ImageCDN.
Yeah. Okay, but then so nothing that will pop out for us.
No, not yet. So that's why it's beta.
It's beta in cloud, but it's not beta in the code. I guess is the thing. Okay, cool. So we can now YOLO code a little bit if you have a little bit of more time, or are you pressed on time? I can do it myself.
I am not pressed on time.
Okay, because then we can do install next. I keep pushing the front. I got a nice new Apple keyboard because on 2 streams ago, my old keyboard stopped working, which was kind of annoying. It kind of swapped its language around without me asking it to, which was a little bit. But anyway, I'm not fully. There we go. I'm not fully used to it. Okay, so we just want to do yarn add lay next then.
Gatsby at next, yeah.
And we're in the workspace.
Like
Paul had a new question.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll put it up. I thought I would put it up. I will put it up. Sorry. Another question for Vart. Do you need to have ImageCDN switched on in Gatsby Cloud?
If you want to have faster builds, yes. But like if you don't enable it, then it will still work, but then you don't see your build go faster. Your build won't go
but your develop will go faster, which I think is very important for a lot of, because that's what I've heard from other developers. It's like, okay, when you first push it up to the cloud, it's fine if it takes a couple of, at least for us who have like smaller sites, it's fine. It's going to take a couple of minutes. But when you're in dev, it's a little annoying. So just speeding up dev is great.
Yeah, we've seen this with our own gatsby.com site where we source from like WordPress, Contentful, I think Google Sheets and Airtable. Don't ask me why so many sources, but we do. And just by using ImageCDN for WordPress, like the boot up time changed from like 5 minutes to 20 seconds or 30 seconds because we
Wow.
didn't have to download the images from WordPress before the develop started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I'm gonna tell some people.
I did the Gatsby challenge or something, 100 days of Gatsby, and then I did WordPress, and I was like, oh, even my tiny, I picked my smallest old WordPress thing, and it took so much time. I was like, oh man. And yeah, and I learned from the Queen that I should not check Twitter. So I was like, don't check Twitter. Yeah.
You mean you actually listen to that advice? Because I don't listen to my own advice. Where I'm like, oh, I'm compiling. I'm just gonna check Twitter over here.
I have a
but let's see if
too.
our thing is working now. Our aspect, no. Our aspect, no. Oh, I am on live. Sorry. Let's see if it's working now then. Oh, look at that. Aspect ratio is working. Woo! Boop, 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 boop. That's nice. So I've seen, I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot, but I have seen that the Gatsby versions are coming pretty fast these days. So let's give it another week or two, and this will probably be on the proper version, the main version.
Every 2 weeks we publish. So
I
don't know when the last one was. I think it was.
It was last week.
Yeah, I think next week on Tuesday the new one comes out.
Yeah. Because on Monday's newsletter this week around the Gatsby Island, I said it came out the last week. So because I'm always a little, it's pretty early that you release them, and then I come with my newsletters on the Mondays, so it's it's almost a week when I report them.
And normally Tuesday or Wednesday, like depends on who's which time zone you are in and who's releasing.
Yeah. And that's always nice to release in the middle of the week, right? So nobody has to work on the weekends. Yep. I saw a friend on Twitter who I think is going to write a long blog post about that now, but their startup had a daytime saving times bug, and they worked that weekend. Yeah. Let me tell you, to get it all working for the rush on the Monday. So that was interesting. Okay, so what was the other YOLO thing we wanted to do? Oh, please go ahead.
A good problem that people will probably arise to is like Chrome is shipping or has shipped version 100. So if you do like user agent sniffing and you do like only 2 digits, you have to make sure that you check 3 digits now.
Yeah. And I think, who was that? These are so funny bugs. And like so many, I think there was someone who just like hard coded something at 1,000 and then they didn't realize why thing was breaking. Yeah, they probably were paginized. They were asking stuff from the database and they were just like, well, we're never going to be above 1,000. So who cares? And then you always never think that, people, there will always at least have like a little notification in your issue software or whatever that says like, hey, let's go and check that thing that we hard coded at some point.
I think the thing we wanted to do was the link resolver.
Yes.
But technically it works with create node field, but we can do.
Yes. And Ola, where's Ola? We need a John voice. When he's back, we can do John. John. And
I can do John. Yeah, I can do John. Come on. I just had to, yeah. Hey, all. I know people I will have to share the recording of this with as a big hint. Lol.
So, but we've never met Paul. No, met John. We've never met Paul either, but we've never met John. But that is Ula's John voice.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Sometimes I forget, and I read John with the wrong voice. But then
or other people with John's voice.
Then I just have to start and read over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying instead of
doing the create node field, like
we could use this YouTube ID field that we have on both.
Yeah.
So then we would link YouTube thumbnail, link from, and just put YouTube ID in there.
Yes, but you also need by, because I think from would be the.
Oh yeah, that's from, yeah, and then by. So both of them would be the same thing. Because I think I called. Okay, so for everyone, so let's talk through what's going on in my mind, so this doesn't just like come out as gibberish. On our YouTube nodes, we have a field called YouTube ID, and then on our YouTube thumbnail nodes, we also have a field called YouTube node ID.
Yep.
And then we could match those up.
Yes.
So we'll do, but since they're the same, it's a really bad, when you teach stuff, you should never have something be called the same like that. But that's what we have. So YouTube ID. So we don't know which one is which, but okay, so that should work then.
Yeah, and then you can remove the create node fields piece.
I feel like this is a comment out situation.
But what are
this
we
is
actually
not
doing
trusting
now?
the process.
I was a little distracted there. What did you just do?
What I did was that since we have control over both of these nodes, we create both of them. We really didn't have to go through adding a create node field. So in our fields, we had the thumbnail field ID. Since we have a YouTube ID of the video reference to the YouTube video that has a unique ID, and we have that both on our YouTube nodes and our YouTube thumbnail nodes, we can then say that the thumbnail field here is we're like connecting the two nodes.
A relationship.
The relationship, and
if you call it database terms, it's like a relationship. And it is very powerful. Like for this example, might not be as powerful, but that's basically how you would create nodes, like create small pieces and then link them together through GraphQL to like get more stuff. So if you have a category, you have products, but you can also do bidirectional with like a link to product to get the category.
Yeah. And I've seen this. It's just because I've always done this on a markdown node that, Gatsby creates for me. Then you aren't allowed to just add fields nilly-willy. So you have to use the create node field instead.
Yep.
So I kind of just missed the boat that, of course, you can just do that directly. Thank you. Let's see if it works before I say it.
Thank you.
Get too happy.
Is it question time?
Oh, it still works. Yay! Yes.
Of course, it works.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There are sometimes nothing wants to work. So like when the keyboard messes up. Anyway, go ahead.
But are the builds fairly quick now?
Yes,
because I don't get time to ask my question.
Yes, they are much, much quicker.
That's good.
I'm going to implement this on my website because there I am creating so many. No, but those are local images.
Yeah.
Local images you can hack together if you get the GitHub raw URL. So if you do like raw.github user content, it is possible. But we are working, or we like not yet, but we're going to try to do like static images too.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, because I realized I was thinking about how to do that, and then I saw Paul sent me some experimentation he has done, and I thought along the same way, but there's a lot you have to replace because the one there, it's images in the front matter, and those are obviously quite easy to find, but then you would have to replace the whole, what's it called, the Gatsby Markdown Transformer plugin that like finds all inline images or like, and then you would have to replace all of that. And then I thought like, I'm just going to wait until Gatsby fixes this for me.
Yeah, so we will. Now the priority was CMSs, and then next up is like local, because that's mostly for like MDX or Markdown, like documentation or blocks. But yeah, CMSs is the biggest need right now, so that's what we focus on.
Yeah, for me, what I do is that I create my own Open Graph images using Node Canva, and then all of those gets picked up also by
Yeah.
the sharp, and they don't really need to be, resized because they're the size they should be. So I can probably optimize that in some other way as well. But in the beginning, but now I write daily emails about Gatsby. Everyone sign up in the
Ooh.
description below. And in the beginning, only had 10 emails and it was fine. But when you write every day, the images are they're racking up. There's more images and more images and more images. So I think that's it. Do we need to do a Tinkerbell summary, Ola? And you need to unmute.
I said yes.
You said yes. I think maybe the best, I haven't done this before, but let's try it where I actually look, because I pushed this up to GitHub and we could actually look at the change log. Instead of me like running around trying to show what we've done, we could look at the change log.
Yes.
Doesn't that sound like a thing to do?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. Is it big enough?
For me, it is, but bigger is always better.
The biggest.
Yes.
But now, like, GitHub has given me this really nice sidebar here. But how do I close it so that you can see the code?
You can't.
Well, maybe if we're doing unified.
No.
What on the left under whip stream, there is like an icon. There was an icon.
Oh, there.
Yeah, that one.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Because I like the split one better. So now
Yeah,
we
me
have room
too.
for the split one. Okay, so we'll start with the Gatsby node. So the first is the what? You have to.
What?
I need to.
What?
This is funny. I can never remember the order of this. It's like
That's why I have the card. That's why I have the card.
The what? We have added support for Gatsby, the new and amazing Gatsby CDN in our proof of concept
Yes.
source plugin, which is a source plugin that sources data about YouTube videos without having to use an Google or YouTube API key. And we already had that working, so we just needed to change out our code to use Gatsby CDN. This is where I'm like, it's past the hour and I'm not succinct in my talking anymore. Okay. Yes. So what did we have to do? We needed
Why?
Why? Oh, why? But okay, Ward, you were so good at the why. Why? You do the why,
Yes.
and I'll plan a how.
I keep it short, like faster builds, faster develop time, and then on cherry on top, you should get faster image resolving on the client too. Like your users will have faster images.
That is great.
You are really good at this. You're really
Yes.
good at succinct.
Yes.
Okay, maybe you should start streaming. Okay.
Nah.
So the first So the first thing we had to do was to create a new for us we needed to create a new node type because we had been using the create remote file node function and we're no longer using that, so we needed to create our own node type, and we called it YouTube thumbnail. And we said, let's have the YouTube ID on there as well. So we have a reference to the YouTube ID. And then we needed to, it needs to have the node and remote file interfaces on it. So GraphQL know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
And this, that was kind of prep work. And then we did the actual meat of the thing where we removed our use of create remote file node and instead created our own node with the type that we had defined. And it has to have a URL, it has to have a MIME type, a file name, a width, and a height. And then there's an optional placeholder URL. And then we create the node field. No, we skipped that after a while, but we have no, not there. Okay, we just create the node. And then we replaced our kit remote file name. But where the big thing happened here in our linking, which we changed later on, go back and watch that. But we have to make sure that it's no longer a file. The thumbnail is no longer of a file node. It's of a YouTube thumbnail type node. Yes. That was not my best. Summary in the email coming tomorrow, folks. Yes.
One thing I want to add that we never discussed is it also works with files if you have a PDF or other pieces.
Oh.
ImageCDN, hence the name, also supports other file types. And that's where you don't need width and height. So width and height are optional, but you need them if it's an image, because else we cannot do like resizing.
Oh, so you might be fooled. Like if you read some documentation and you see width and height is not required, but it is if it's an image.
Yeah, and normally the doc should say that, but if it's not, like we should make it better. And also, like, if not, I'm gonna check it afterwards. But normally, Gatsby should shout at you as well if you have an image mime type and you don't have width and height. We'll tell you like, hey, something is missing.
I think you do, because I think maybe I skipped that. So let's see. Oh, but I liked using the pull request to have a little walkthrough. I just didn't push all of our code to commit the latest nice stuff that we did there in the end. Keep people on their toes. Let's see if it shouts on us if we.
Okay, question time. I have to be quick then.
Yes.
Version 5, Ward. When is it coming?
September, October, end of the year. So.
Yes. But are you kind of looking even ahead into 2023? Do you have some plans that are not too secret, kind of, or some dreams? If you could decide, what would happen?
If you could have a dream,
yes, what would that be?
A dream.
It doesn't shout. Sorry,
that's,
I missed.
That's
I
something
skipped
we
your
need
dream.
to.
That's a dream. That's a dream. Okay, go on ahead with your 2023 dream.
So it's not really per se a dream, but I think it's where we're heading. It's basically we want to make static as fast as SSR. So now people say, oh, static can't scale because it like needs to build and so on and so on. But we want to get to a point where you don't even think about it. It's static. You just say like, I update something and it's instant there. That's the end goal. And that's where we're heading to, like with different pieces where so in 2023 where we want to get to is that you have your static page, and then you might have at the top something that is super dynamic, maybe saying hello, your name. That piece only would be SSR'd or like dynamic and nothing else. So those are the end goals, and we need things like partial hydration, like lots of the new goodness that's coming in React 18. We want all of that.
Yeah, because you talked about that stuff in the video about React 18 when you had the Pokemon API
in
and
October last year.
Okay, so
what's the word on Gatsby? No, what's the word on React 18? Like, I feel like I also saw like the announcement video, and it feels like it's 2 years ago. So showcased.
Release candidates, I think the last release candidate is out of React 18, and I don't know when they're going to ship, but it's not going to be too long.
Oh, we have a great question.
I will read it then.
Ooh.
This is Meltwater. It's one of our the oldest people in the chat, actually, and some people think that it's Paul, but we don't think that. We don't think that. So okay, hi everyone. I have a question to Ward. Will _layout.tsx come?
Maybe. I cannot talk about everything we're gonna ship.
Okay.
No, but the thing is, because I can't remember.
You don't have to answer.
No, but I know where this question is coming from, because
I know.
Somebody had that on a demo, or it was in somebody's
I
code.
did.
You did.
Yeah. Okay.
In Gatsby Camp in October, I showed like where we were heading, and it is coming. But I can't give a date.
I just learned. I heard from some friends. We had a dinner and we talked about, I don't work in enterprise, but they work in enterprise, and they were telling each other, how do you just like table something without saying that you're kind of not doing it? Because they get too much work, thrown at them, and then they were like, well, I need to prioritize. Do you want me to do this or that?
Yeah.
And then they say, well, we want you to do A, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to table B. No, you can't do that. So my one friend who's worked in an even more enterprisey company was like, well, you can't say that you're not doing it. Then you just say like, oh, okay, so we'll schedule B for Q4 then. Or we'll schedule it for Q1 2023. And then when you get to there, it's like, oh, we need to put that on. And it was just so funny, like listening to them, like giving each other pointers on how to say no without saying no.
Yeah.
So maybe layout never is coming, Meltwater. That's what I'm saying.
But you've been pretty good at pushing out things very fast, though. So it's not like we're unhappy.
No.
You mustn't spoil us.
But that's why we're here, right? Like trying to get Gatsby better and better, and faster and faster.
Yeah.
And the goal is like there are going to be some great updates on the performance side where you just have to upgrade Gatsby and you get them, so you don't have to do any work. So I think that's like amazing things that will come soon.
We're looking forward to it. Right. Are you ready for your ending, Ula and Pirate Princess Lillian?
Yeah, the princess just came here and she said, I'm sick of this.
How do you say it in Norwegian?
Jeg love
Jeg har ikke startet den.
Ja, men du må komme og si til avslutningen. Kom da. That wasn't me. I didn't say that.
Okay, I'll make the family big again. Let's see. And we'll give them they can give us their outro.
Okay, Lillian. Nice, what did you do?
She's so happy.
She's selecting an audiobook.
Can you please
That's
stop?
that's the only thing she has allowed to do on
Jeg
Ula's
hører på
phone.
feil sted.
Ja, det går bra. Jeg stopper.
Oh. Wrong point in the book.
Ok, er du klar? Blåse. Ok, ta den. Gi meg den. Jeg klarer ikke å synge når du...
And I think this is new, Vart. I don't think you've experienced this before.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
Till other unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Raae.
Woo! That would be me.
I'm your host, Captain Oravea. Remember to smash that like button, friends. Today's guest was the great and powerful Ward Peeters. See you next Thursday. Bra jobba, Lia!
Okay, I'm chatting with somebody and I'm closing down the stream. Woo! Bye! No, I didn't hit the other button.